I'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and get started and go up to redistricting and then stop it at that point if the people haven't joined.
And if it's necessary, Trustee Good, if I may, we could always start with facilities.
That's a good idea because we could do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order then. We do have a quorum. Let's see. Alguien que necesita intérprete para la Junta. Do we have anybody needing translation services?
No one has requested translation at this time, Trustee Good.
Great, thank you. This meeting is being recorded or broadcasted. Images and sounds may be captured of those attending the meeting. As a reminder for those participating in the meeting, please mute your microphone until it is your time to speak. This will eliminate background noise. For the board members making motions, please state your first and last name before when you first start talking. And may Mr. Pace, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly. Everyone, please rise. Salute. Pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America
and to the republic for which is
one nation under God,
indivisible, liberty for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pace.
Thank you.
Next, I would ask for approval of the agenda, and I would like in the motion, whoever makes it, a little flexibility to switch around on it until we get a full quorum. I want to hold redistricting until we have everybody here.
I move that we approve the agenda, but allow the president's discretion on the order of operations.
Okay,
I second. This is Twin. I second.
Is motion by Mr. Pace, second by Trustee Fiak. Roll call vote.
Enrique Diaz. I don't believe he's on yet.
Enrique and Anisha are not on yet.
Okay. BC Doyle.
He's muted.
Yes.
Twin Fiak.
Yes.
Mark Good.
Yes.
Anisha Munchi. I don't think she's on yet either.
She might be.
James Pace.
Yes.
Linda Paceno.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Next, we have general public comment. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, Trustee Good, we have 4 public comments.
Okay, can you go ahead and read those, please?
Sure. Comment number 1 from Denise Jungling. I would like to request that the Board of Education inform students and parents when and by what means the students will receive their diplomas. Again, I would like the district to reconsider to not having any type of ceremony for the students. The latest concept being promoted is having a backdrop at the school and allowing kids to come and at least take photographs. I encourage the district to look at the imaginative ways other schools are honoring their students. I bring this up due to the news released this week by Governor Newsom about entering phase 2 at this time and potentially phase 3 by June. I encourage the district to keep an open mind and keep the kids in mind. Comment number 2, Jillian Young. Please tell me why other schools are finding a way to have an actual graduation, but GUSD can't seem to. It feels like you have given up on our kids, and that is very disheartening to say the least. Comment number 3, Tia Griffin. I feel that as a student, there should have been better communication and more transparency between the board and the student body. We are aware about the depth of effort. We were unaware about the depth of effort being put into the graduation ceremony. Had we known about the process as it was happening, the student body would have been more trusting in the district's efforts and concern about the class of 2020. Things should have been done with the student body, not done to them. Comment number 4, Erica Clinton. Christopher and Gilroy High School are partnering to co-host a virtual benefit show over YouTube Live to help raise money for St. Joseph's Community Center. St. Joseph's has been a beacon for our families in our community who are struggling during this difficult time as they feed up to 800 families every day. We want to help raise money for this amazing organization so they can continue to help our brothers and sisters in need during the pandemic. Please encourage anyone you know in our Gilroy community to send in a video and possibly be featured as an act in our benefit show. The more acts, the more views, and hopefully the more donations that go to our families in need. Videos can be submitted via Google Classroom. Let us be #Gilroy Strong amidst these difficult times and come together as a strong community that we know we are. This concludes public comments.
Thank you very much for reading those. Next, we have item 3D, report of action taken in closed session. There's no actions taken that need to be reported out. Superintendent's report. Is Dr. Flores on the phone?
Yeah, I'm here. Hang
Okay.
on 1 second. I just got here.
Your timing is very good. We are at superintendent's report.
Thank you. I will do my best since I'm only on the phone. I believe that Nicole Black, our new principal from Luigi Aprea, is also joining the meeting. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Great. Thanks, Nicole. I wanted to say a few words about Nicole and introduce her to the board and to the public. Nicole's been in public education for 13 years. She earned her BS in elementary education from the University of South Alabama and her MS in school counseling from the University of West Alabama. She's worked in diverse communities. She's taught a number of grade levels. She's taught in Title I schools and in schools, and she's currently an assistant principal at Stevenson Ranch Elementary School, which is a 5-time California Distinguished School and a 2-time National Blue Ribbon School of Excellence. Nicole very quickly rose to the top of our interview process, and I conducted a number of reference checks on her that were just wonderful. We are so excited to have Nicole joining us as the new principal of Luigi Aprea. So I'd like to give Nicole just a chance to say a word or two, and then ask that you all welcome Nicole to our district.
Well, thank you so much for all the warm welcomes that I've received. I'm so excited to start at Luigi and to be a part of the Gilroy family. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks for joining us tonight on the meeting.
Welcome to the
Okay.
Thank you
team.
for inviting me. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ms. Black, you're aware that Luigi is the technology school, right?
I am aware. Uh-huh.
So you have to figure all this stuff out for next time.
Keep joking.
I got it. I'll be on top of it.
Thank you.
Great. All right,
Nicole,
so
this is Board Member Linda Piceno. I want to welcome you to Gilroy Unified, and please know that tonight is not the norm for us. And I am very excited about you being principal at the Aprea School. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. I'm excited also. I cannot wait.
Great. Anyone else want to say a comment before I interrupt someone else? All right. I'll give my superintendent's report. We had our monthly meeting with the mayor and the new city interim administrator. We had a very good meeting. I felt like we did some really good updates for each other. We were updated on what steps the city has been taking to address COVID-19, and we were able to also update them about what's been happening in the school district because of COVID-19. And we received a lot of really positive feedback about our efforts to provide distance learning and provide meals for our families and many other things. Last board meeting, I let you know that I did a presentation for the Sunrise Rotary regarding the impact of COVID-19 on our district. On April 28th, I was able to do the same presentation for the Gilroy Noontime Rotary. They had great questions, both Rotaries, and I think it really helped our Rotarians understand what the district has been doing. And you've already heard from me about all the things that we're doing as a district to address the COVID-19 crisis. I've continued to, as I know many of you have, participate in the public health press conferences and updates for elected officials. That's been very informative. Last Friday, we had our facilities committee meeting and covered a lot of items, some of which you'll be seeing shortly on the agenda. I hope Melanie is showing you all the pictures that go along with what I'm saying. Melanie and I spent a couple hours Tuesday morning taping my small portion of graduation ceremonies because those have to be submitted in advance. So we took care of that on Tuesday morning. Paul and I, Mr. Winslow and I met with our 3 union presidents on Tuesday afternoon to talk about forming a committee or a task force with cabinet to start planning for the fall, with several scenarios in mind as we start planning that process. And the unions were very supportive of the idea of us getting together and just start some very, very preliminary. I talked about what may happen next fall. That process will be guided by some guiding principles that we're going to be provided by the County Office of Education. On May 6th, that we had our second South Valley Middle School rebuild, modernization, construction meeting. This meeting was specifically to teach us how to use technology, which after tonight, I don't know. But anyway, we are going to learn how to do some things using technology, because we can't meet in person as a group like we did with the Brownell Committee, where we were able to actually manipulate materials and construct our ideas. We can't do that now because of everything being through technology. So we were given a lesson on how to use a program. It's a pretty cool program called Mural that we're going to be using in future meetings. Yesterday, we met with all of our management team that are not principals. We call it our non-site-based management meeting. Was that today? God, the days are blending together. Anyway, we had a really good meeting. It was longer than normal, as well as our principals meetings have been, because we're just doing a lot of sharing about what's going on in each of our departments, each of our schools. And I think it's really important that we hold these meetings so that we can all come together as a management team to talk about issues that we're facing, and also everything that's going well, because I asked everyone to do that too. And there were so many things that are going well in our district despite the challenges that we're facing. We've continued, of course, the Friday letter to staff and families, which has been very well received. And I am now doing a weekly FICMAT survey that the CDE asked the district to do about what we're doing in the district to deal with COVID-19. We have some events coming up. Like currently we're in Teacher Appreciation Week at the national level, but the California Day of the Teacher is not until May 13th. So we will be sending out a letter like we always do every year to our certificated staff on May 13th, and we're doing a couple of different things this year that I won't spoil the surprise. We also tomorrow are going to do a virtual celebration honoring our 3 AXA folks that were going to be recognized tomorrow night at a restaurant. And so we're going to be doing a virtual recognition tomorrow of Paul Winslow, Dan McAuliffe, and Lucy Huerta, who each were selected in their categories, their job categories, for recognition for our whole region, which we're very proud of them, and we're going to give them a little bit of recognition tomorrow at the end of the day. May 17th to the 23rd is Classified Employees Appreciation Week, and I'm going to be reading 2 resolutions into the records later, recognizing our employees. We have our virtual graduations coming up, and those hopefully are listed on the screen. And you have those all on your schedule. And we are planning other things to complement or supplement the virtual graduations. Each of the school sites are working on those plans right now. And then I've had so many virtual meetings the past 2 weeks, it's hard to even keep track of all of them. But as I mentioned, we have the elected officials meeting twice a week, and I know a number of you do that. We have bi-weekly superintendent's meetings that begin with public health speaking to us about the latest information. And those meetings are also attended by members of the county EOC, which includes often the county administrator and always the county council. And then we are continuing with our regular meetings, but they're all virtual now, like principals meetings, cabinet meetings, non-site-based management, and a lot of other meetings that we're doing virtually now. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Dr. Flores, especially in these hard times via telephone. Next, we have the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion.
This is Linda Pisano. I move approval.
BC Doyle, second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
BC Doyle,
Yes.
Twin Fioc,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munshi,
Yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Pisano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. It appears we have all our board members now. So we will move right into our public hearing. Approval of redistricting maps for trustee area elections. Action item. Mr. Meza.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, board. Good evening, superintendent, members of the public. This is our fourth initial public hearing. We have 3 in total. We've had 1 in March and 2 in April. And tonight, for board action is the approval of the redistricting maps that we've been discussing. I just want to remind the public that the current process is to transition from trustee area elections to at-large, from city at-large member elections to by trustee area elections, so that the boundaries will determine who the ballot trustee who is on your ballot, on your local ballot. So we will no longer be voting for citywide board trustees. However, it's very important that you know that the change in the boundary will not impact the boundary of school of attendance. So that shouldn't change. The attendance boundary is not impacted by this boundary map process. It's simply to elect the way in which we elect board members to be compliant with the California Voting Rights Act. Mr. Douglas Johnson, are you there, sir?
Yes. Hello.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Douglas. Please, we'll give you controls to the screen, and you can walk us through the various maps that we have for board discussion today before we ask for the board to take action on these maps.
Sounds good. Happy to. And given the technical issues I ran into in the last meetings, I'm just going to talk through the maps. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to look at the PDF maps and or at the interactive viewer, all of which have been on the district website for the last week. And actually, the main maps we're going to talk about have been on for a couple of weeks. There's just 2 new maps that were added a week ago. So right now we have actually 6 maps up for consideration that are available for the board to consider and adopt tonight. I'll start with the map labeled Kang 1. It came in from a resident. We were very happy to see residents getting involved and drawing proposals. And that map was one of the ones that you looked at your last meeting. And the person who submitted it said their main focus was on trying to be compact and trying to have kind of reasonable looking trustee areas. It was slightly out of population balance. If you spent much time on the demographic spreadsheets, the population requirement is that the smallest and largest trustee areas have to be within 10% of each other. And after we made some small adjustments to fix the contiguity on it, the smallest and largest were off by, they were at 10.06. So just off by a few people. And so we also have posted a week ago the Kang 1B map. If you've had a chance to look at it, There are some small shifts within this, just in the heart of the city of Gilroy, where we're balancing population. Essentially, 7 was a little bit overpopulated, so we take some people out of it, add it to 6. Some people from 6 go to 5, and then 4 was underpopulated, so 4 picks up population from 5. Very small shifts that you can see in the PDFs or in the online tool. It's very much true to the original Kang map, but now it's within that 10% range. I will touch very briefly on NDC1 and NDC2 for those that weren't, from those residents who weren't on the last discussion of this. The board last time definitely had a preference for either the King map or NDC3, so I'll come back, spend more time on 3. But very briefly, NDC1 was drawn very closely adhering to the city border. So trustee areas 1 and 2 covered all the non-Gilroy territory and then came into Gilroy for the extra population they needed, while trustee areas 3 through 7 are all entirely within the city and the outer borders of them follow the city boundary. So that one is still available, even though it wasn't one of the preferred maps last time. Similarly, NDC2 was an attempt to roughly match up the trustee area lines with attendance zones. So there'd be a rough correlation between the trustee area territory and the attendance zone territory. The trick we always run into with that is that attendance zones are drawn based on the number of students in a neighborhood and the number of seats that are in the local school. Neither of which is really related to the redistricting law, which says we have to draw them based on total people of all ages and everything in the area. So it is just a rough correlation. And as was discussed last time, it didn't match up very well, and it wasn't one of the board's preferred maps last time, but it is still available if you want to come back to that. NDC3 that you looked at last time takes a different approach. Rather than trying to match up the trustee years with the attendance zones, it actually goes the other way of trying to make sure that every school attendance zone has multiple board members representing it. So we see, and this helps, the idea behind this is that no board member would feel like this is my school, I got to fight for my school against your schools. It helps preserve kind of an at-large feel to the board members' deliberations and considerations as much as is possible in a by-area election system. So we looked last time at NDC3. Given the interest in it and some of the comments from the discussion, I did make some small revisions to NDC3B. Both these maps are completely valid. It's not that one is better than the other. I just wanted to have a little more variety on the table and respond to some of the comments last time. 3B, if you've compared the two, it's a little more compact. The trustee areas aren't quite as odd looking, which most of those oddities are driven by trying to pick up more trustee areas in each, more attendance zones in each trustee area. So it gets a little more compact. It also adds a third trustee area extending out into the rural area. In NDC3, just 1 and 2 cover the rural areas. In NDC3B, 1, 2, and 5 do. The trade-off for that is primarily trustee area 4, which no longer comes south into the Gilroy High area. It now is only in 1 high school area, and it also does not pick up any of the El Roble elementary school area. So it's more compact. It has a third seat in rural, but at the trade-off of having trustee area 4 not cover as many attendance zones in particular. So again, we're not proposing 3B is better or worse than 3. It's simply another alternative on the table for you. And then finally, just to wrap up, as a reminder, we covered these in the previous hearings, but in terms of the rules and criteria guiding this, all these maps meet their federal requirements for equal population and compliance with the Federal Voting Rights Act and avoiding racial gerrymandering. So they're all legally supportable. Where the decisions really come down to is what the law considers traditional redistricting principles, which are goals more than requirements. And your discretion is to pick which map best balances those. And those are your communities of interest, trying to be compact and contiguous and follow easily recognizable boundaries, and while trying to respect the voters' choices and make sure that the next degree possible, and it is possible in all these maps, the decisions on the current board's re-elections are all up to the voters, not dictated by these lines. And as was just mentioned, this map is an oddity of where we are in the decade, but dictated by state law. This map will only be used for this year's election, and then it will be the basis for revisiting the lines once we get the new census data next year. So it won't be a drawing from scratch exercise. It'll just be adjusting it, but it almost certainly will need some adjustments next year before the 2022 election. That's my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. This is a public hearing as well. And then, as was just mentioned, then we're looking for the board to see if it can select a map. I should add too, the other question that comes up sometimes is which trustee areas will be up in which years. So on the PDF maps that have been posted is the listing of which trustee areas, which 3 trustee areas in each map will be up this year. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Are there any questions?
This is Linda. I have a question.
Please go ahead, Linda.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, in the, I'm kind of liking the NDC 3B map, but correct me if I'm wrong, in looking at our elementary schools overlay, 2 of our schools would have 2 board members representing them. 4 of our schools would have 3 board members representing them, but Las Animas would have 4 board members representing them, and that concerns me since that's a majority. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, I haven't. When I was drawing it, I was mainly focusing on make sure that each trustee would represent 2 or, if possible, 3 schools. Certainly is possible that one school might have 4. I don't see that necessarily as a problem. You know, it would be hard to address, I think, to go the other way.
Linda, when I was looking at 3B, so both Las Animas and Rucker have 4 board trustees.
Okay, I was looking, I got 3 for Rucker, but they have 4. I'll trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we look at this, our main goal is to make sure that everyone has more than one, so that one board member is a certain.
I agree with that. I think more than one is a plus. 4 concerns me. And I don't know in your experience whether that's a concern, a valid concern or not.
You know, the only place where I could really see it coming up as a concern where it might be unfair is if you do face a situation where you're going to be closing a school. Something that emotionally driven that school might have an advantage. Anything short of that, I don't think it's really going to be much of an advantage for them.
And Linda, this is Twin. All of the maps that are proposed have at least one school with 4 board.
Yes. You're right, Twin.
All right, are there any other questions of Mr. Johnson? Hearing no further questions, my internet's not that great. I don't have a video feed of hardly anybody, so I'm going to go through. This is a very important decision, so I'm just going to go through and ask each board member to add any comments and any way they're leaning or suggestions or comments.
Is this a public meeting?
It is a public meeting.
Do you want to open the public meeting?
That's a good idea. Public meeting's open. Do we have any public comment? Any public comment?
Natalie, do we have any public comment on this item?
Excuse me, sorry, Trustee Good. No, there is no public comment on this item.
Thank you.
Very good. So going through the list, let's start with Trustee Munshi. Do you have any comments, or would you like to state the way you're leaning?
I like C, B. I also did like some components of the Kang 1B. It's clean. But I think Linda brought up a good question and it was addressed, so I'm fine.
Very good. Trustee Doyle, would you like to weigh in on this?
Okay, the only concern I have is like Linda's, having 4 board members at one school, because that represents a quorum. So if there are any issues come up with that, I think it's like Rucker and Los Animas, no matter what it is, if they've got 4 board members, they can outvote us, no matter what the situation.
Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it, even mathematically, because right now, every one of the schools have 7 board members representing them. So I haven't seen in my experience that be an issue. So I don't know that having 4 board members represent or be in a particular school area is going to really matter, frankly.
It probably won't, but it's just something that I agreed with Linda on. But other than that, I'm good.
Great. Trustee Pace.
On the 4 people representing one district, Mark, your point of all 7 of us represent everything right now is a good one. Also,
yeah,
if somebody was trying to pack the vote or something, it would have to be over 2 elections, and that seems unlikely scenario for someone to try to make change of taking over the district or whatever. Because 4 are not at the same election cycle, right? 5 is on the. So given all that, I think these are some good options. I like the ones that spread us amongst as many schools as possible so that we each feel buy-in to the whole district and not just, again, one school or a fiefdom or that kind of thing. So I that's where I am.
Okay. Trustee Paceno, did you have any additional comments?
no, and your point about each school right now is represented by 7 school board members makes absolute sense. But that's the way we do business now, and trying to look in my crystal ball to see how business may change is what I was trying to think of. But I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Diaz.
Okay, thanks for the input. I think that maybe we should go forward and maybe kind of vote for 2 of them, like our primary choice and an alternative choice. But I do like options NDC 3B and 3, and I like them because they tend to give some weight to the external parts of Gilroy, which we've typically had some underrepresentation, but at the same time provides for, if nobody comes forward, that it can dip into the inner part of Gilroy. So I like it because of that. I like the clean lines of it. I like that geographically it looks really nice with 3 boundaries or 2 of them on the outside, and then it goes into the inner parts of Gilroy, which I appreciate a lot in terms of the representation. I don't think in the past, luckily we haven't, I think, have had issues with power groups being established or anything like that. So I don't think that's such a big concern for me. I think we definitely, I think we kind of encapsulate that part that we represent the entire district when we join the school board. So I'd like to give some kind of preferential treatment to incoming board members that will come in the future. Having said that, to me, NDC 3B and NDC 3 look really cool.
Great, thank you. Trustee Fiak.
I like my preference is NDC 3, again, because I think it spreads us all out. Each district will have 3 to 4 schools, assigned to their area. So that would be my preference.
Great. And I think, has everybody been heard? Okay, then speaking for myself, I'm a fan of Kang 1B or 1B, and then probably my second favorite one is 3B. So is there any other comments or questions before Mr. Doyle, please?
Yes, according to the census, is there a possibility that next year we're going to have to redo these maps again?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This is going to be a one election deal, and then it's going to be tweaked after the census results are in for the next election 2 years later. Well, if there's no other comments, questions, the chair would entertain a motion.
This is Linda. I make a motion to accept NDC 3B.
It's Enrique.
Is
I
there
second that.
Okay, there's a motion and second.
BC, I'll second it.
Okay. Lucy, did you get the motion and second?
Yes, Linda Pisano and BC Doyle second.
All right. Is any further discussion? Well, it sounds like I guess I'm the lone outlier on Kang. So, but I can see the writing on the wall. So, if there's no further discussion, I would call for a roll call vote, please.
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
BC Doyle,
Yes.
Twin Fioc,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munshi,
Yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Pisano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like 3B it is. So, Mr. Johnson, thank you for your help with this. Appreciate it. Mr. Meza?
Thank you, Mr. President.
My pleasure.
Next, we have item number 7, Resolution 19/2027, Classified Employee School Week. Dr. Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Good. I'm very pleased this evening to present 2 resolutions to the board. The first resolution is 19/20-27 for the Classified School Employee Week, which will be May 17th to the 23rd. And before I read this resolution into the record, I do want to say how grateful we are to so many of our classified school employees that during this COVID-19 pandemic have done such an amazing job. I'm in particular our food service employees that have literally been on the front line since the day after the day we closed. About 40 employees serving families up until this week every day, meals that are desperately needed. And then we have custodians that are cleaning the areas that they use. We have bus drivers that are driving meals out into our rural areas to provide meals and hard copy of instructional materials out to families. And there are so many others that I could name, but I'm just so grateful. I know all of Cabinet, and I know the board agrees with me. They have done such an amazing job. All of our classified employees that are providing essential services to our families we're so grateful to all of them. And I want to read this resolution into the record. Whereas the week of May 17th through May 23rd has been designated as Classified School Employee Week throughout California. And whereas classified employees in our school districts form the backbone of our public education system. And whereas the Gilroy Unified School District employs hundreds of classified employees who perform services that are essential to the educational process. And whereas classified school employees are rarely in the spotlight, but are vital to the success of our schools and students, serving with professionalism and dedication and setting a high standard for care and compassion. And whereas other classified employees perform essential clerical, transportation, food service, maintenance, custodial, campus supervision, technology, and other functions that our district needs, and which provide many students with important educational and health-related services. And whereas many classified school employees serve as paraprofessionals, providing direct assistance to certificated staff in the classroom and giving students the individual attention and support they need to succeed in and out of the classroom. And whereas classified employees provide services that enable the Gilroy Unified School District to respond effectively to the needs of students and their families, teachers, administrators, and other staff, and the needs of the greater community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education and Superintendent extends its sincere appreciation and commendation to the Gilroy Unified School District classified school employees and proclaims the week of May 17th through May 23rd, 2020 as Classified School Employee Week.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. This is a roll call vote.
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
JC Doyle,
Yes.
Twin Fioc,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munchi,
Yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Paceno.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flores, and thank all of our classified employees for the excellent job they do.
Excuse me.
Mr. Pace.
I'm not sure if we need this, but I would make that motion that we just voted on if we didn't have a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
This is Linda, and I'll second it.
Okay. Good job. I was just testing you all using technology.
Thank you for catching that.
Good job, Mr. Pace. Next, item 7B, resolution 19/20 to 28, Day of the Teacher, action item. Dr. Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Good. We have a similar resolution for our certificated staff that I'd like to read into the record and state what I said earlier. This is on a federal level, national level, this week is the Teacher Recognition Week in the nation. But in California, we've always had a day in the second week of May, always a Wednesday, where we recognize our teachers. So I'm going to read this into the record. Whereas California long ago recognized the immeasurable value of our teachers and has designated the second Wednesday of May to be the Day of the Teacher, a special observance that honors teachers and the teaching profession. And whereas the Gilroy Unified School District Board of Education wishes to express its appreciation to our teachers and certificated staff who share their love of learning in the classroom every day through creativity, dedication, talent, and hard work. And whereas teachers and other certificated staff are essential to the educational success of students of Gilroy Unified School District and play a crucial role in their lives as mentors and role models. And whereas no other profession touches as many persons with such a lasting effect, and whereas Californians everywhere have stories to share about how it was a teacher who inspired them to strive, to attain, and to succeed in life. And whereas teachers and other certificated staff support students with a wide variety of backgrounds and support them in all to the best of their abilities. And whereas by nature, teachers are proven leaders in bringing inventive practices and creativity into their classrooms every day. And whereas it is appropriate that teachers and certificated staff be recognized for their continued unwavering dedication and commitment to educating all learners. Therefore, be it resolved that the Gilroy Unified School District Board of Education and the superintendent do hereby highly commend and extend sincere gratitude to all certificated staff. And be it further resolved that the Gilroy Unified School District Board of Education hereby acknowledges May 13th, 2020 as the Day of the Teacher in recognition of outstanding support and commitment to the students of Gilroy. And I want to also call out the great job that our certificated staff have been doing during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's actually amazing. As I was listening to principals describe the effort, the hours, the amazing commitment of our teachers to making sure our students get the best possible education during this time is just so incredible. And we are all so grateful to not just the classroom teachers, but everyone else. I mean, we have behavioral therapists that are calling students weekly or twice a week to provide therapy over the phone. Counselors are doing the same thing. We have so many certificated staff in their various roles that have really stepped up to the plate and are doing whatever they can to support our students and their families during this very challenging period. So they have our sincere gratitude.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. Is there a motion?
This is James. I will make that motion.
This is DC. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, Mr. Pace, second by Trustee Doyle. Roll call, please.
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
BC Doyle,
Yes.
Twin Fioc,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munchi,
Yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Pisano, Linda Pisano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Next, item 7C, Resolution 19/2029, issuance of 2020-21 tax and revenue anticipation note. Mr. Meza.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Board. Good evening, Superintendent. Once again, this resolution is to simply allow the district, as it looks to the state and the deteriorating revenues for the next budget cycle, to be able to borrow. It's a debt instrument, borrow temporarily to smooth out the fluctuations in cash receipts from the state. As you may have heard today, the governor announced a projected shortfall of $54 billion for the state for next fiscal year. We want to be ready in case cash deferrals are in place for next year. This instrument, a temporary anticipation note, allows the districts to borrow up to, in our case, $15 million for next year to simply smooth out the cash disbursements from the state, making sure we can meet payroll and our obligations on time. Of course, with deferrals, that means the cash you get in May, maybe you should have gotten in February, and the June apportionment may come into July or even August. Those are some of the pictures and scenarios that we've been looking at, and we simply want to be ready for that scenario as the state looks to address major shortfalls for next year. The financial impact to borrow, it's an estimate. We really don't know at this point how much we will need to borrow. Assuming we borrow about $5.5 million, the cost of borrowing is $24,760. We feel that's a really good insurance policy. We'll push up the size of the trend, knowing as much information as we do going into next fiscal year. The governor is set to release the May revision next Thursday. So I'm certain that we will continue to fine tune our estimates on cash needs well after this resolution is passed. The resolution does allow us to jump into the California School Boards Association pool, if you will, to effectively and efficiently issue this effectively a loan for cash at the most advantageous price to the district.
Thank you, Mr. Meza. Are there any questions from the board? Mr. Pace.
Not a question, it's a comment, but in my opinion, I think the economy of the state of California is going to have some severe hurdles over the next time. So we should be getting our fiscal house in order, and that includes cash flow, which again is an important part of. So I'm going to be supporting this wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pace. Any other board comments or questions?
This is Enrique.
Mr. Diaz.
Yeah, I just want to comment that I know it's something that we don't take lightly, and especially at CBO, you don't take lightly. And it's but I like the fact that it gives us the ability to have options, and options is something that we'll definitely need in the upcoming year. So I will also be supporting it.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. Any other board comments or questions? And I would just note that this is something that we have routinely obtained for decades. We didn't have one this year. I don't recall if we had one the year before. We probably did, but it was only because our financial position was solid, and with the state now, it's anything but solid. And it's good to have options. So I will support it as well. And I would entertain a motion.
This is BC. I move to approve.
Second, Enrique.
We have a motion by Trustee Doyle, second by Trustee Diaz. Roll call, please.
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
BC Doyle,
Yes.
Twin Fioc,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munchi,
Yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Paceno.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Item 7D, Memorandum of Understanding with San Jose State University for Teacher Residency Program 2020-2021. Mr. Winslow.
Thank you, President Good, members of the board, and Superintendent Flores. Today I'm presenting to the board a memorandum of understanding between San Jose State University and the Gilroy Unified School District. This is a great relationship that we are beginning with San Jose State to provide the district with a really healthy pipeline of new teachers, in particular special education teachers. The agreement would allow San Jose State and Gilroy Unified to partner and to actually accept what are called residents, which is a very intense accelerated program of student teaching with a highly qualified Gilroy teacher. And once they get their credential, essentially we would have first dibs per se on some great candidates that are coming out of the university who have already bonded with our staff, who have already bonded with our district and know the system. So we're always looking for new pathways to enhance the district's ability to recruit highly skilled and highly qualified special educators in particular. This MOU also will allow us to move forward to apply for a grant to the state of California, which actually does allow the grant recipient to help offset the cost of tuition for those residents as well. So there's a benefit for the resident to work with the Gilroy or to do the residency with the Gilroy Unified School District to also offset the cost of credentialing with San Jose State. So this is a partnership that we've been forming with San Jose State and other local universities, but San Jose State being our closest university. And I want to thank Dr. Flores for really as a superintendent spearheading some of those conversations. We're hoping that once this memorandum of understanding, should the board accept it, it'll be a part of our application for the grant, which is a joint application as well with San Jose State University. Anna's also on our team helping develop that, and we've also leveraged some of the grant writing skills from Dr. Padilla as well. And so I'm here to answer any questions and requesting that the board allow us to move forward with this memorandum.
Are there any board questions or comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
This is Linda. I move approval.
This is Anisha. I second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
BC Doyle,
Yes.
Twin Fioc,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munchi,
Yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Paceno.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have item number 8, action information items regarding facilities and maintenance. Mr. Nato.
Good evening, Dr. Flores. Let's see, my camera wouldn't come on. I think it may not. There, I think it's on. So good evening. We have two quick items, and then I'll hand it off to Mr. Dan McAuliffe. This evening, we have a contract approval with Cypress Engineering for the commissioning services for Brownell Middle School. And that's part of the modernization project. And this is a contract that I've briefed the facility subcommittee, I think, pretty extensively on. I hope there's no questions, but we've also got a contending quote that came in from Solace O'Brien for substantially more. And we do have a relationship with Cypress Engineering. So we're recommending the board approve the contract with Cypress. Then item 8B is the approval of a contract with Golden PMI. This is very much like the contract that I presented at the last board meeting for the installation of classroom furniture and makerspace furniture at the Brownell Middle School Modernization Project. This addendum is $9,510 in addition, bringing the total contract price to $71,585. This particular addition covers the cost of installing the furniture to the administration building. We did not originally put this into the bid for Golden PMI because we wanted to get the furniture order in for the classrooms as quickly as possible. At the time that we put it in, we were not guaranteed delivery by a certain date, and that was making us very nervous. So we wanted to make sure we had that done. We chose to separate those, get the classroom order in. This will finish off the phase 1 furniture installation. And that's actually all I have. I'll let Dan present his items and then we can vote on them.
Okay. Are there any questions on from the board on items 8A or B?
This is Enrique. I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just wondering, does it get factored into the cost of like remodernization of Brownell, for example, or do these costs get tracked differently? And for future build like South Valley or anything that may come in the future, will the cost again be kept separately in the case like that, or is expected that they will be rolled into those costs?
The cost of the furniture installation is definitely part of, we budget that originally, like right during the schematic phase. There's usually a dollar amount set aside for every bucket that we can think of, from superstructure to utilities all the way down to furniture. So I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but it is something that we generally plan for. And all of these funds are within our current budget structure. There's nothing superseding our budget.
Okay, and if that's the case, then is there a reason why we have to approve it then separately, or would that have already been covered by the umbrella approval that we did months and months ago?
We generally bring all items concerning the bond to the board for approval. Although you've already approved the dollar amount, it's good to inform the public and the board of all of the dollars spent within the bond. So that's generally why we bring many of the items that we do. It's already been approved by a large scale dollar amount, but we do like to rent, like balancing our checkbook. We want to show you every dollar that we spend, and we want to have a public record of it. That's generally the reason why we do that.
And I would just
yeah, that totally answers my question. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
I'm just going to add my comment on that. Additionally, there are contracts that have to be approved by the board. So various contracts come up as we're doing these projects, and we always bring those contracts to the board. That's the only thing I was going to add.
Yeah, board policy requires, I think, what is it, anything over $5,000?
Yes.
Brought to the board approval, and there's good reasons for that. I mean, historically, back in the 90s when I was on the board, things didn't run like this, and you had all sorts of contracts going to all sorts of different places with for questionable results. That's all been resolved. And the bottom line is, yes, we have fantastic staff that's doing a great job for us, but the bottom line is with the board, and the buck stops with us, and it's our responsibility. And so that's why
I appreciate that.
yeah, I mean, and
Yeah,
it works a lot better now than it used to 20 years ago.
thank you.
I have a question.
Trustee Fiat.
So for A, that was a considerable difference between the two quotes, and I'm assuming that we're comparing apples to apples. Do you have any idea? I mean, that's like, I was surprised at the difference.
Yes, actually, we did inquire about that. There's two mitigating factors that really put into scope why Cypress is actually a lot more familiar with the structures that we purchased. So we purchased a package with Milas Modular, and the systems, HVAC systems, electrical, all of that is incorporated into the building structure. Cypress Engineering is actually an offshoot of Milas. The employees that build or that started that company used to work for Milas. So they're already familiar with a lot of the systems in place. It's a lot easier and it's a lot more streamlined for them to go in and approve and engineer a lot of the systems that are in place. Solis O'Brien is a much larger house. They're a large scale firm, and they generally put in a specialist for each building system. So we would be paying for an HVAC specialist and an electrical specialist and a airflow specialist. So it tends to be a little bit more boutique, but a lot more expensive. So yeah, it's really the size of firm and the familiarity that Cypress has with Milas. We wouldn't enjoy that same price if we had a different modular structure in place.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Any other board questions on 8A or B? Hearing none.
Trustee Good, this is Trustee Pisano.
Go ahead, Trustee Pisano.
Just a comment on A. It irritates me that we have to pay $58,000 to somebody to make sure that everything is functioning okay. But that being said, it is mandated by the state. And if indeed they check and make sure that everything is copacetic with the new building, I'm good. So, to your comment about things running smoothly and that it's the board's responsibility, I agree with that, but also the idea of bringing it to the board is also a transparency with the public so that the public can also see and be aware of the kinds of things that we approve and the amounts of money that we approve as well.
That's excellent comments, Trustee Pisano. I mean, obviously we discussed this in the facilities committee. Of course, the public and the rest of the board didn't get to hear that. Poor Mr. Nato was really put over the coals on this whole commissioning services thing because we have a city building inspector. He checks all this stuff. Then the stupid state requires us to have an inspector record, which costs us hundreds of thousands of dollars. Then now we have to have yet a third person check this. Why? Because it's the law, not because it's a great idea or has any common sense is implied or we have too much money. It's the law. We don't have a choice. So to go to transparency, it's great for regular citizens to see how we're forced to spend idiotic amounts of money because of rules and regulations the state has set up. So thank you for bringing that up, Trustee Pisano.
Sounds like I got off the facilities committee at the right time.
Well, that depends. If you ask the other members of the facilities committee, maybe not so much. Any other comments on 8A or B? B. You have one? No? Okay, we'll call item 8C then.
Oh, Dan, you're up.
Okay, good evening, Superintendent Dr. Flores, President Good, and board members. I have 3 items for you tonight. The first one is 8C. It's approval of contract with AstroTurf for the aftercare service for Gilroy High's turf. This is basically the same service we've had in the last 2 years at Gilroy High. with the addition of infill. It's time to add infill to that turf to preserve the life and the safety and integrity of that field. That's about a $15,000 addition right there. So this is inclusive of the aftercare service plus infill. That's a cost of $22,720 funded through RRM. Excuse me. Next item is 8D. That's approval of contract with Aquasource for the replacement of the diving boards at Christopher High. There's 2 diving boards at Christopher High School that are worn, need to be either refinished or replaced. We presented options to the subcommittee for replacement or refinish, and we were given the recommendation to bring to the board the best cost solution for replacement, and that was Aquasource for a cost of $13,827. Next and last item is a big one. That's the contract with Hollister Moving for the necessary moves at Antonio Del Bono. The majority of the moves will be going to Luigi and Rucker and miscellaneous sites around the district. The packing has already started by some of our staff for the teachers. This cost is a not to exceed of $80,249.50. We will not hit that mark. We are doing some of the packing and boxing for the teachers right now. We'll be assisting in some of the packing and boxing as we go, and Hollister will then move the items. It's still undetermined how much and what is going where to 100% extent of knowing what we're doing. So this was a worst case scenario bid. So this will be less than $80,249.50. Hollister is ready to go. We hope to have this site ready in about 2.5 weeks for Hollister to come in. Teachers, as I said, are starting to pack up right now. They started last night. This will also be funded through RRM.
Thank you, Mr. McAuliffe. Are there any board questions on any of these items? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for items 8A through E. Edward.
This is BC, so moved.
This is Linda, and I second it.
We have a motion and a second. There's a roll call vote, please.
Enrique Diaz,
Yes.
C. Doyle,
Yes.
Twin Fioc,
Yes.
Mark Good,
Yes.
Anisha Munshi,
Yes.
James Pace,
Yes.
Linda Paceno.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Next, we have item number 9, board
Thank
member
you.
reports. Are there any board member reports? Going.
Would you like to hear about my house?
Gone. Too late. All right. And there's no delay. I heard you and then still said gone. Okay, what's going on with your house?
I'm stuck in it.
Oh, I'm very sorry. In that case, item number 10, any upcoming, well, he gets off the facilities committee and he starts running amok. Short timer syndrome. Number 10, upcoming and new referral agenda items. Any member of the board have anything for that? Hearing nothing. Announcements. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Thursday, May 28th, 2020, via teleconference, which will work a lot better than this one, I hope. Closed session will begin at 5:30 p.m., followed by the regular meeting at 7. The agenda will be available on the district's website by 5 p.m. on Friday, May 22nd. We are not adjourning to closed session. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. And we are adjourned.